Hey, how's it going? Oh, not great for me. I mean, it is. Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. In fact, nothing but good things have been happening lately, but man, I'm in a crappy mood. I have not been able to shake it for days. Before that, I was just feeling, I don't even know how to characterize what it was, but just, I felt like I was just fighting everything, like just trying to maintain like uh, a level. I just don't want to be like bent out of shape like ever, but it happens. But it's weird, like I've had no reason to feel the way that I've been feeling, which is like something happened to me that like nothing happened. So, I have talked before about feeling like a certain kind of blockage, like, I can't I don't even know what the hell am I trying to say. Uh, oh, that I couldn't like ground myself, and I just that once you start doing it, or once I started doing it, it feels bad to feel ungrounded, and it's not such an overt feeling. It's kind of just an underlying thing, but since I don't have a lot of the stimuli that I used to have when I was like going out in the world and I worked, and I don't know, maybe it's a factor of not having as much of a social life as I used to, or even less than that, than just spending time amongst people, other people really. I just feel like I have so much less going on in my life, but for some reason I feel like there's so much more that's been happening sort of as a result of all the time that I've kind of been able to focus on my inner life. And that consists of just trying to, and it really is a trying thing right now, which I don't think is productive to anything that I ever want to do, because that brings in all of this sort of stress to things, like you feel like you're on a timeline, like you got to do it and have it done in a certain way, and it's like no, none of that is happening in my life right now. But I have been focusing my attention a lot on things about myself that I feel like are not doing me or anybody I interact with any good. Like the ways that you like treat other people, because I hope that if I do well and am good to other people, that will be reflected back at me. And it has been, but at the same time, like in here, this nugget, there's been all this other stuff happening where I just, I feel like I'm like super angry, like having like a war with myself or something. And that is not my goal. The goal is all the ease possible with things, just in life. So I don't, I mean, I was just gonna say I don't understand why I'm feeling that way, but I think I really do. And not to get too woo-woo about it, but really it's just about deliberately dredging up and facing things that if I don't find it unattractive, then I'm looking for times and places and incidents where other people were reflecting back at me that it was something unattractive about what I was saying, what I was doing. And by unattractive, I mean upsetting, like an order of things that's calm and casual and pleasant. Like, what did I do to piss this person off, basically, because when stuff happens to you, you feel like, oh, the whole thing is such a big deal because it happened to me. But when you feel like that, I'm beginning to understand that there is probably a component where the other person or people involved are also feeling stuff. And if it's making them feel bad, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to be responsible for that, because of all of the time that I've spent in my life feeling like this happened to me and that person made this happen to me, or this person was involved in it. And those situations can be large or small, but for me, they've happened throughout my life. And I'll tell you a little thing, a little, I guess, story. And this really started to kind of open my eyes about this kind of self-reflection. And I was at a person's house, and there were a bunch of other people there. And we were sort of congregated around the table. And one of us got real excited to see and meet this other one of us. And the first person got kind of discombobulated by the second person. And I understand that, because I also would feel that, but I had known this person longer, so I was a little bit more at home with, I'm going to call it, my admiration and actually love for this person. And they had like a great, vibrant personality. And so when this other person met the second person, they just kind of let it all hang out emotions-wise and developed like an instant crush on this person. And they were very, very cool about it, like not really bothered at all by this reaction, because apparently it had happened before. And that doesn't surprise me, because they were a musician, so I'm sure they got a lot of weird love from people. But they basically were like embarrassingly disassembled by this person, and were acting, I don't know, like a really young person, like maybe a preteen with a crush. So I don't know, it was just like it was a little over much. And the discombobulated person says, "You made me feel like this." And the first person says, "I didn't make you do anything." And it was so great, because it was so simple and true. Like, this person was just sitting there having the conversation, not doing anything overtly to anyone, really. Like, it was all about this other person, the discombobulated person, just getting all caught up in their feels and falling apart, kind of. I mean, even they understood that they were embarrassing. And the second person just kind of like took the legs out from under all of that and said, "Nope, you're not blaming that on me. Whatever's going on with you, I mean, I'm new to you. You met me and like stuff's happening to you, but I'm just here. I didn't do stuff to you." And so, I mean, he didn't say all that second part, but that's kind of how I computed it. And I had heard that before, but not in that context, I guess, where it actually meant something to me. And it's always stuck with me. So, that always kind of, or that kind of like opened my mind to the idea of how we affect each other when we interact. So I guess by dredging up all of this stuff and not, well, anyway, by dredging it up, it, you know, loosened and dislodged other stuff. And I guess that's what I've been feeling. But I've been feeling like I'm at war with myself. Like one side of me, like, you did this to me. And the other side's like, hey, I was just here and you're reacting. I don't have anything to do with that. Which is a weird sensation. It's unsettling. So, yeah. I have wanted to talk about stuff, so much stuff, but by the time I get everything all set up to go, like the feelings have moved on like clouds in the wind or something, and I feel like, what is going on with you? You can't hold a thought for more than 2 seconds, but it's more than a thought. It's like the feeling generated behind. And I don't like to get on here with nothing to say, you know? And I'm not sure I'm going to be well understood here, but I just thought I'd share it anyway. What do I got on time here? Okay, maybe I have a few minutes to do this. So this is not really writer strike stuff, but I feel like it's affecting my viewing schedule, which is a lot of what I do with my time. So I'm searching for something, and also it's like finale season, so that makes it a problem. I've talked about this before recently. Summer comes and, you know, thank goodness for streaming, that's all I can say, because in the past, without it, summer comes and you're just in rerun hell, and the new stuff is like sports or some kind of reality TV that I just have no use for. So yeah, I mean, it's about being sort of homebound a lot, and that's a health related thing. So I haven't figured out yet how to get out of and around that to be more out in the world and social, like I was talking about before, so I don't turn into a feral person. But that's kind of what's happened, I feel like. But anyway, I still have this state of mind where there's going to be nothing, and it's a bleak landscape for viewing and filling my time. So I'm looking for something, and I actually was like, I think I want to see a Michael Fassbender movie. And I have some thoughts about Michael Fassbender, and that's all in my head, I think. I saw him on Graham Norton one time, his English talk show, and the host is Graham Norton. And that's an interesting show. He'll have, like, it kind of reminds me of The Tonight Show, because they'll have, like, a whole couch full of guests, and they don't do the one at a time thing. They'll have, like, the whole slate of guests on at once. And that's awesome. Like, the conversations that happen are great and funny. And they openly drink on there. It's a British show. But they also drank on The Tonight Show. They just weren't sitting there with their glasses in their hands. So, I mean, that's like kind of a throwback that tickles the fancy of some older part of me. The getting to be elderly part. And he was on there talking about how he's an Irish actor, but he's got this German last name. And the first time I saw this story, for some reason I got out of it that, yes, he's Irish, he was born in Germany and has a German father, obviously. But for some reason I got it in my head that he was like an orphan of the father. I don't know if that's true or not. And I actually have looked, so I think something was said like he wasn't around, and that made me feel sorry or bad for the guy, like, oh. But he seems fine. He's funny, he's talented, you know, he's fine. I guess. But another thing I noticed about him that I gotta like this. I have never seen him with a Caucasian woman. And to me, that is so good and symbolic of goodness, because where I am, that is not looked upon as a good thing. That's, everybody wants to be all separate, or I don't know if everybody wants to be separate with the races. I think some of us don't care, and some louder of us make a big fat deal about it and think that everybody's got to stick to their own racial lane, which is just silly. But I'm sure we'll move through that. 1 second. Anyway, I found Snowman, or The Snowman, and it came out in 2017, and stars Michael Fassbender, but it also has J.K. Simmons, who I have, just sung the praises of many times on previous videos. And boy, he's been popping up in a lot of things that I've been turning on lately. And then also another character, or another actor in it, is Val Kilmer. And I I saw this and I was like, I gotta talk about this. But I didn't look at the cast list very closely until right now when I started doing this, because I'm looking at this character in the movie and going, dang, that guy looks familiar. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I have the IMDb up on my laptop over here, like right next to me, and the character that I thought looked so familiar is Val Kilmer. And he looked so like himself, but different. Like, I didn't realize that he had done anything in a movie, because he was gone for so long. I didn't realize I didn't realize I was looking at him and it was him. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this, it's a suspense thriller. Michael Fassbender plays a guy who actually is an orphan, and he didn't know who his father was for years. And then his family and people around him, like people that are close to him, start getting murdered. And the signature that the killer leaves behind is an actual snowman. But it's out of Sweden. And so they have snow there. It's kind of like one of the things that an American person that doesn't really know about another country will fixate on. But they have snow there. Yes, we have snow here too. But anyway, so there's that. There's the mystery story, the cop story, and then it's personal about this guy's life, because the killer is connected to him more closely than he realizes until like almost the last minute. He almost loses his family because of his youth, which is a lot of what the story is about, where the father is this brutal, violent person, and he doesn't realize that this person is his father until years later, and then ends up that the villain is also a relation, but he doesn't find that out until the last minute either. And it's got the crazy criminal that's just irrational with their motivation for what they're doing. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about this movie is that the Swedish foster child care system comes up because, like I mentioned, the main character, the snowman, the character's name is, sorry I have to keep looking away, but I didn't write this down, is called Harry Hole, Hole. And he's messed up. He's an alcoholic, and he has a wife and a son that he basically alienated away from himself with his alcoholism. And it's all the root of what happened to him as a child with this brutal, terrible father that was also a police officer. But it made me really think of the girl with the dragon tattoo, because it just sounds like, what the hell is going on over there in Sweden with the child care system? And I did look it up before I got on here, so I'm not trying to talk bad about the Swedish child care system, but I personally, and I think a lot of other Americans, think that because Swedes they live in a different system than we do, like a social democrat type thing, and well, it's just they just do things differently because it's a whole other country. But especially the girl with the dragon tattoo, it's like, well, what the heck is going on with the people that are supposed to be caring for these children that have no parents to care for them? And side note, I think the girl with the dragon tattoo hit on something that's actually a true thing that is not really out in the open, but I'm sure it's about to break like a rotten fruit pretty soon here, and that's that foster care children get subject to a lot of abuse because there's a lot of abusers that have access to them apparently in the system, or they get trafficked right out of there. So I just want to say, like, a lot of kids disappeared that were coming from the southern border of the United States, and everyone's like, I don't know where they went. And it's like, somebody knows, and the reason why so many of them could disappear, and the somebody that knows are several somebodies, and it's a coordinated effort. Like, QAnons did not invent child trafficking. I know they think that they're the first ones to discover it, but before their existence, there were years and years of shows like Dateline and 48 Hours and things like that talked about child trafficking and people getting stolen off the street, or vulnerable children with like a single parent that's not around because they're out doing the work of two parents to support the one child that's left alone. Like, whatever the vulnerable situation is, it's not new. It's even been around since before television. So I'm just saying, there's somewhere between fiction and reality is the real reality that's hidden. Like, another one of those things that's obfuscated by the system. So so like I said, I looked up, like, you know, stats about the Swedish foster child care system, and the thing that stood out to me the most was that they were surprised to find so much abuse. Like, apparently they'd made laws and done things to sort of avoid this type of stuff happening to these already traumatized, a lot of times, kids. And it sounded like we thought we fixed this, and it's still out there, and it's really bad. I'm just giving you like a synopsis, paraphrasing there, but that's what it says. They're like, whoa, we thought we fixed this, and this is like out of control. And their surprise gave me an indication of how bad it is. So at least their people are looking at it with open eyes. Our people, I think, are so wrapped up in, like, keeping everybody in their racial lane and having their ideas about them, good, bad, and ugly. But usually the bad and ugly win out in the case that I'm talking about with these kids, that they're like disposable or something, and that it's okay for this kid that you don't care about to be subjected to a life of sexual slavery. Like, ugh, how awful. Like, what is wrong with everybody? We live in this weird duality that's also in our minds. I think even the most depraved creep knows they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, that they may not think it's wrong because they're just going to do it regardless, but that might be a compulsion that they can't overcome. And it might be that their mental state is like, I don't really care about that. And I don't know how we prevent those people from happening to other people, but I'm sure there's something that can be done. I think that compassion has a whole lot to do with it, and I know here it's almost being outlawed, so it just is sort of I don't know, I guess the whole idea of all of that just shakes me inside, and it makes me realize how precarious the civilized world is in reality. But let me just push all of that ugly reality aside and start talking about this movie again. Because in a way, we already know all kinds of bad stuff is happening. So when something resolves out of it, it gives me a feeling of hope. Because even if it's a fictional thing like this movie, that, you know, our fiction is sort of a reflection of our society. So if it can be conceived of, it can be done. Like, we don't have to prey on each other, and we don't have to give in to, like, ideologies that reality will tell you are not the truth, you know? I'm not gonna, I want to and I don't want to go into all of the stuff that's happening here right now, but I really don't want to talk about sad things much more than I have already done here. But in Snowman, all of the puzzles resolve into, like, what really happened for Harry Hole, because he just didn't have the whole story. He didn't know who his father was. He didn't know that he had other family as a result of being the son of this cruel father. But he didn't acknowledge that Harry Hole was his son. His mother, I don't know why she just bailed on the kid, but she totally did, and in such a horrible way. It's like, oh God, of course he has mental illness. He saw his mother kill himself right in front of him, and he saw her abused and treated cruelly, and then he wasn't treated great by the father either, and he wasn't really in the picture except to come around and bang mom, and that does things to a kid's mind, especially when the mother doesn't come out of the banging like, I got banged. They're like, I want to die. It's like, kids are not stupid. We pick up on stuff, and even if we don't understand what's happening at the time, like later, well, with this guy, much later, everything makes sense. But in the meantime, he's all messed up. He's an alcoholic. He has a wife and child, but he is such a mess that they're like, we can't deal with you. We can't live with you, so we're done. You know, and he is able, once he realizes what the heck's been going on, he can sort of get himself together. And then right when he's like working his way back into his own family's good graces, this other person comes along and throws a wrench into the works. And well, I mean, it's great for the script. It gives you lots of tension and suspense and action, but whew, it was a little breathtaking. But I mean, it was, I thought it was good. I thought that the characters, J.K. Simmons' character was a little hard for me to take, but I mean, I got over it because he's a good actor. And then the part that Val Kilmer played was so tragic. But that was kind of the tone of this whole story. But like I said, it does work out in the end. So it does finally give you some hope that these sort of scrudgy situations we find ourselves in we can work ourselves out of them, and that's hopeful too. So, hi, this is like a depressing review, but, you know, the movie is fiction. The stuff I was talking about, not so fiction. And maybe that's the thing that makes me sadder, but it can also be overcome. I believe that. So, hi. That's all I had to say about that. Thank you and good night.